Good morning, everyone. Today is April 24th. If you watched last month, you would have seen potato's giant now. Of course, there's the food, not very appealing for all the stray cats. This one's doing insane. I have been going in and mounding up the dirt around the base of the plant as the plant begins to stalk up. Okay, swing around here. It's not all too much happening with these guys. We have some beans growing. Here's to get it closer. Look at those pods. We've been throwing them on salads. Onions doing all right. These are my cucamelons that are gonna start to take off. Spinach that is way overdue needs to get pulled out. And we transplanted, as a last ditch effort, some of the garlic from the back run that was getting really thrashed by these little black aphids. Nothing happens with these and they don't revive. We'll probably yank them out. There is a small bulb in there, but not much of one. I believe these are tomatillos. And then I have another potato bin over here, followed by some carrots in the back. And some more... What are these? Oh, these are peas. Try and see the giant pea pod. Okay, swing back around over here. We have some smaller baby tomatoes in this wine barrel. The strawberries are here and a jalapeno has been popped in at the top. Makes no kind of sense, but it was a space. Some more baby tomatoes in this wine barrel. And this area still needs to be dealt with. I ordered a water collection system, but because of everything that's going on, then they canceled my order, and now I have to reorder one. Let's see, that is lemon balm and sweet peas that will be going up that trellis, and a volunteer sweet pea that just cropped up. Strawberries that are overwatered, which is why they have red leaves and have a bit of root rot going, trying to get it to dry out. It's been really damp here and we're just now getting some sunny weather this weekend. So okay, we have one artichoke here and the other one was moved to a far corner to give it a little bit more room. Sarah's here to talk about flowers.
The artichoke is coming to the end of its trials, so I'm going to let it flower. I've never seen an artichoke flower. And I just threw in some marigolds and some salvia that I started from seed. The salvia is the small.
Oh, these guys. Okay.
Lavender blooming.
That's from last year.
Those are, oh my gosh, it'll come back to me. What they are, some Gerber daisies that I didn't think would survive, and they just reappeared. So free flowers. Lavender, the Egyptian walking onion, which I had to cut back severely. It got rust, but on the other side is actually forming heads. The crazy borage pash, I planted a borage here and it self-seeded, and I couldn't bring myself to get rid of the small plants because I know how much the bees love them, and it is literally humming, buzzing with bees. So I'm happy to give them food. We need them in the garden. And then the rosemary, a few herbs in there.
Yellow
I actually have no idea. That was another one of those.
Oh, that's the lazy
ones.
Susan. We keep calling it lazy Susan.
I don't think it's. Yeah,
no,
I think it's a daisy family. I don't know what it is.
Black-eyed Susan, I think.
I don't think so. No. Okay.
People are gonna be like, yes, commenting on what
purple salvia. Well, it was free in a mix.
Yeah, that was that. Yeah.
So there's a salvia there that is currently being shaded by what I thought were shorter poppies. I just threw poppy seeds in here to see what would happen, and apparently I did not read the package. And these grow quite large. They don't necessarily flower the first year, and so yes, I have lots of foliage. Eggplant. Look at the lovely purple flower. Hello, eggplant.
I know. This thing is crazy. It's now over a year old.
That's the little prince.
So these trellises I've now just added. Down here we have cucumbers that get planted up to go onto that trellis. Take a small sweep around here. Blueberries. the jungle of beans and kale. And on this trellis, starting to come up are the green beans, green and purple string beans. Alrighty, let's go to the back so that I never talk about flowers.
This is the untidy wild section of the garden.
It's more of those unknown.
No, that's actually a citronella.
Not that, those other.
An angelica, a citronella. There's a calendula in there. This has to get weeded.
Oh, I forgot all about over here, the berries. I always forget this section.
Yeah. So we have multiple berries.
One is a raspberry and a blackberry, I think.
And these are poppies that I don't remember planting. So either I planted them or they got blown into the yard, but a whole patch of these came up. So, you know, obviously if they came here, then they can stay. This is I believe it's called Texas hummingbird mint. It's not really a mint. Is it agastache? I don't know how to pronounce it. I think that's what it's called.
And then more poppies.
And more poppies. And then that is my one surviving lupine, the only one that came up. And so
Did you seed start more?
I'm going to wait till next year.
Finally, this area is planted up. It is the peppers. This rose bush, is this the only rose bush you decided you want to keep?
Yeah, that's coral color roses and they smell just heavenly. Not a traditional rose scent, which I don't particularly care for. A volunteer cosmos that popped up from seeds dropped from last year. Again, welcome. And this is a new berry, thornless blackberry.
There's the sad artichoke.
Planted 2 of purple artichokes next to each other. They were not spaced enough. Because they take 2 years to grow, I wanted to try and move and rescue this one. I cut it back and I'm hoping that it will reroot itself and survive. A collection of mints in the back, some dianthus, a bunch of random flowers that I actually got from the 99-cent store. The petunia and some alyssum, which smells like honey.
Beets, chard, and then cabbage, fennel, and a couple dill. And then your new patch of...
And then this back patch will be what I like to call a sea of zinnias. I have Bennery, I have Queen Lime, Peppermint, which is a speckled zinnia in there. At their height, they are probably about 36 inches high. And in the front are some tiny mix that only grow to 12 to 14 inches high.
Oh, the lilac. We planted a random lilac. And then we get rid of those trash cans and have a temporary compost heap thing going on.
No food products go in our compost. It's all green and brown matter. This patch didn't grow well because this jasmine is quite old and has a very, very strong root system. The soil here is really compacted, so I actually amended and added a layer of fresh soil with a lot of organic matter. I put in a bed of seashell cosmos, and then I put in a bunch of dill for summer pickling, and I planted bouquet as well as some mammoth, and so that is a mammoth dill.
That thing still hasn't found a home. The kale is a bit crazy. Some more cucumbers. I'm laughing because the little man is slowly inching his way over onto this area. So I guess I'm going to show you this. I didn't actually talk about this area before. I mean, I talked about this corn, but I forgot to talk about the trees. So over in that far corner, and let me actually get a little closer so you can see. These are supposed to be patio ultra dwarf fruit trees. I have one tiny little apricot growing on this one. So I have an apricot here, and then in the other corner is an apple. Then if I swing back around over where that kale and cucumber is, we have a cherry, and then on the other side of the little man is my Asian pear. These trees we got last year, they're supposed to be fine in these patio pots. Nothing really happened except for 3 tiny little apricots last year. When I went in and repotted them about a month or so ago, their roots were loaded because they came bare root. So I'm guessing that the first year was for them to kind of put off their roots and get that going. Okay, so these are 2 more trellises that I have built and added to this area, and I will have a tutorial coming soon on those. But all of our pickling cucumbers have been planted in, with the exception of the beans that I did not have the heart to get rid of. You see in here, these beans are loaded. This was a Christmas lima bean. It just is like, I don't want to waste food. You know, they're almost doing their thing. I think probably within the next month or so, hopefully they'll fill up and then these can come out and then we can go ahead and plant another round succession planting of cucumbers there for the other trellis. So, okay, over here.
All right, so this is a little bit of a random patch again. The catnip, which all the cats love. Some alyssum, dianthus, and some, I believe it's called sweet william. There's a sage in the back. The rhubarb, which is looking a little tattered. It's actually gonna get moved in the fall. And there's a honeysuckle that's starting to climb. Some thyme, herbs mixed in, and this is a cut flower dianthus, one that grows quite tall and has this lovely deep red shade. Then there's a volunteer tomato. It showed up, so we're gonna leave it and see what it turns out to be.
This side is some parsley. Hey, little ham. Anyway, the carrots are now fairly large, and the mixed greens that are here are coming up, lettuce greens. And then the tomatoes. I'm trying to get my shadow out of this thing. It's a very sunny morning, which is unusual. Oh, wait. That is oregano. That really needs to be cut back and used and dried some. That is a tomatillo. That we thought was a tomato, but now it lives here. So, yeah. And then to utilize some of that space, because the garlic was supposed to stay in there, and the garlic did terrible. To get that black aphid infestation, we ripped them out and then threw in some extra tomatoes we had. And here is that crazy New Zealand spinach, happy to grow. In fact, I need to harvest some so I can make some breakfast.
A rescue red geranium. This is an ivy geranium,
zinnia?
And that is a zinnia, and that is a marigold. Is either orange or yellow. An interesting tall marigold mix where they grow about knee high and they have a pom-pom. We grew them last year and they were just lovely.
And then finally, in the tomato cage is actually tomatoes. I never mentioned about the whole tomatoes being in this cage and not having pollinators, but you have a solution for zhuzhing the pollination, you said?
Technically, wind is sufficient. They sort of self-pollinate. However, an electric toothbrush, just for about 10 seconds on the flower where the truss will be. So I'm going to test that and see, particularly for the cherry varieties, since we have quite a few of them. Honeybee and the golden nugget and the white cherry are yellow varieties of cherry, which I really, really like.
Took out all of those brassicas. The sun is like getting difficult. I think I'm going to come around the other way and be shooting away from the sun. Before I do that, let's talk about this middle bed. This middle bed has cabbage heads that are forming. We harvested the purple one and had it for dinner a couple nights ago. So that one's out. Trying to keep this shaded because as weekend is going to be really hot, and these are cold weather plants that need to stay shaded. But what will be going in here once these guys are done are going to be these bushing squash, your typical regular like summer squash and zucchini type of squash that are going to be in there. Are the baby bees here yet? Not yet.
Leaving the broccoli to flower and go to seed, and it was covered in baby bees yesterday. It was absolutely darling.
What squash are you putting in here?
So at the moment, this is what I have. They are a ronde-nice, which looks like the green zucchini, except it's round. An 8-ball, the scalloped yellow patty pan. Then I have another round with green and yellow striped patty pan. Those will be out soon. And then the pumpkins. There's a few different summer squash. Oh, and I have a yellow crookneck inside.
So the yellow crookneck will go in this bed. The pumpkins are going to go out where the trellises are.
I planted less of these this year because they tend to get diseased quite quickly. I think it's the moisture. This area is like its own microclimate. Even though it's quite hot in the middle of the day, in the morning there's a dew that covers everything, and powdery mildew is a really big problem. And also you can only eat so...
I think we got so sick of it. We had squash for breakfast.
Eat so much summer squash, zucchini and whatnot. They say you can only make so much zucchini bread. Zinnia and marigold and red salvia, and I had one random surviving strawberry.
There are this tomato run all filled up, full of tomatoes.
Enchantment Linaria, that's a Veronica. Another rescue plant that was supposed to be an annual, but apparently a lot of things that are annuals are actually
perennials
become
here
perennials
in California.
in this zone. The lizards like to hang out in it, and lizards eat the bugs, the bad bugs, so.
And alright, I'm gonna just do one quick spin, and that'll be today's end of April, first spring footage.